Welcome to A Shot Between the Reels. My name is Dan, and over here,
My name is Brendan.
welcome Brendan.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan.
How are you doing today?
I'm very well.
It's a
I've
lovely sunny day.
It is. It's a lovely sunny day. I've eaten my food. I'm ready to have a frank discussion.
Yes, and that is why we're here, to have frank discussions about movies. So, this week we have one of Netflix's latest efforts to review. So, Brendan, tell us, what is the film?
Today we will be reviewing The Old Guard.
The Old Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So this came out fairly recently on Netflix.
Believe so.
It stars,
Charlize Theron in the starring role, I
yeah,
would say, really, and various other names that we were discussing are either difficult to pronounce for the most part.
yes, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Always fun when you have to say them. You have to. You can't not say them. So yes, well, we'll see how we go. So it's based on a graphic novel, a
Mm,
series of graphic novels. So
right.
we're thinking that Netflix are hoping that they've struck gold here.
I think that's the
Bit of
idea.
a series, yeah.
Yes.
So shall we start off with our review ratings? Go straight in. You ready for this, Brendan? I think I will allow you to go first.
Whether you want me to go first.
I don't
Okay.
know what you've rated this, so
That's fine. I did keep it quiet. I so it's a bit of a hard one because I did flip back and forth between two
ooh,
different scores. I think in the end I made a steady feeling on 3 stars.
3 stars from Brendan. Okay. I I had a little bit of a think on this one, and I've gone for 2 stars.
Ooh.
So yeah, not exactly a ringing endorsement from my end. So,
Interesting.
Brendan, do you want to tell us a little bit about the plot of this film?
Yeah, so the general gist of the film is that, as you said, it's based on a series of graphic novels, but the general idea is we follow a team of, I suppose you would say they were kind of mercenaries. They seem to take jobs that are assumed being kind of morally right jobs, I guess. We get the we don't get much information about the characters at the beginning, but the general idea we discover is that they are all immortal and have lived for thousands of years.
Or
Um,
hundreds, some of them are
or
hundreds,
yes,
aren't they? Yeah,
hundreds basically is the idea of years, isn't it? And they don't know when. Sometimes certain ones have been in the team, and they all are somehow kind of telepathically linked, aren't they? The idea that
yeah,
they find each other in life as soon as someone becomes immortal. So they,
yeah. They're like in each other's dreams, aren't they?
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
they die and then they are aware of that person and they're drawn to them. And so they have seen people that have been immortal that have eventually run out of immortality and
yeah,
then back to actually dying. And their whole thing is to escape capture so they don't ever want to be found because they know they'll be experimented on. And in this film, that's exactly what is happening. Someone is trying to capture them, is aware of them in the modern day.
yeah,
So we're setting it in the modern day, and we get callbacks to earlier points in their life. And you follow a new member of the team, so someone that's coming
yeah.
in.
It's that old chestnut, isn't it? You go, there's something already set up, but we're following someone new.
Yes, yeah.
So as viewers, we are following their experience, being introduced to everything.
And so they're
Yeah,
learning. There's a lot of expositor, like that dialogue that's kind of coming in. We're learning about that from
yeah,
that character's perspective, and it's as if the main character is then speaking to us as the
yeah.
audience.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
Um, so where shall we begin? Um, where do you want to start, Brendan?
I
I'm happy.
suppose probably on the story. I personally felt like it's an interesting concept. I like the
Yeah,
concept of the film. I like what it was laying down. I think it's unfortunately it's not very well executed. So when I say I went back and forth on scores, I was between 2.5 stars and 3 stars.
okay.
Eventually, I settled on higher because I think I I like certain things. Like I did enjoy some of the action set pieces, and regardless of the fact that I think dishing out a lot of it's dishing out a lot of dialogue to make you try and understand everything, and I never think that helps a film.
No.
It should be able to tell you the story almost to just what you're seeing alone, rather than you having to have here's this and this that kind of happened. I think it being especially that it's based what it's based off. It's based off a graphic novel, and they
Yeah.
would have told it, quite heavily, I imagine, with kind of like showing their history, and they don't really show their history. And I wondered whether they were. It feels like they're holding it back or they're saving it for something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the film ends setting up the next film and
Which is
knowing,
I never think that's
yeah,
good, personally.
yeah, yeah, and also knowing that it's a series, that they're not giving everything away because they want to put more in, and it isn't great because there's an element of like actually sometimes the best thing to do is assume you're only going to make one,
Yeah.
and put your best stuff into that one.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I recently watched some interviews with Christopher Nolan, and he talks about when they made Batman Begins, they had a story for 3 films in their heads, or he did, but he made one at a time, making them as good as they could be.
Yeah.
I think it's a little risky. For me, it didn't pay off. You mentioned kind of the backstory of those characters. You do have these flashbacks,
You do.
which some work, but for me, a lot of the time they look really low budget.
Yeah.
So there's a couple where Charlize Theron is. I mean, she looks like she's going to a fancy dress party. In my mind, like that's how bad like the costume is to me. It just looked cheap, and almost laughable. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed by this film, I'll be honest. That's how I felt. I think for me, I was getting bored by a lot of this chat. This, like I say, them sort of telling this new character all this information, and also I found it quite dull.
Yeah.
Like you have this great. Some of the action sequences are quite good, okay, but you have to wait a long time in the middle.
Agreed.
There's a middle bit where you're kind of like, come on, like it's a bit light for what is essentially is going to be like an action film, or what should be.
And it takes a long time to get the story moving at all, really.
Yeah, and I think it's too long. Actually, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's over 2 hours. Actually, if they took even 15 minutes out, probably could do more, but make it a bit leaner. That was my main bugbear with it. I think it was hard going, because you have this great action sequence in the plane near the start, which is that's great. That little fight, kind of clever when she sort of she pretends to shoot the pilot and that, and brilliant. But after that, it slows right down.
Because it's then like the new characters being introduced to the group, right? And then you have to have all the backstory with the group. And I think, and so they give you that introduction, right, of saying that Andy, Charlize Theron's character, has been alive the longest. So it mostly kind of centers around her. They don't tell you how old she is. And I liked all of that. I was like, this is kind of cool. because they're setting up a premise of that's why she's so jaded and she's seen so much
Yeah.
hurt in the world. But then, spoiler, like towards the end, you're finding out that she's no longer immortal. Like it's gone, the power has gone from her, but she's learned so much in fighting. She's almost like indestructible anyway. And then she has this whole kind of a bit more tragic backstory with one of the other immortals that they had in their team, who she feels that she let down, who is put into what looks like a horrible kind of Iron Maiden type thing, isn't it? And then drops into the ocean and then trapped under there forever, which I think, like all of that stuff, I was quite into. I think the more tragic aspect of that story was good, and that they couldn't save everyone.
Yeah.
But we don't really get a resolution to that story because it seems as if it's being saved for
the
sequel.
Yeah.
And then so that's kind of disappointing, and the film kind of just ends on a bit of a bum note for me. I was a bit like,
I feel like all of this film is a bum note.
Yeah.
It's too much of a downer.
Yeah.
For me, it should have been more fun.
Yeah.
It should have been more playful. Instead, it's kind of like, I mean, it asks that really interesting question about immortality, and like, although it's something that people desire, actually, it's kind of it's a bit of a curse, and actually, there's pain to it, and that's a really interesting topic. But just to dwell on that negative for so long, that's how it feels. It kind of feels like there's a lot of pain, and like it's so hard. And then those two of them get captured, and and it's like, and then you got Booker, the character played by Matthias Schoenaerts, pronouncing it like that, who I think is a great actor. I've seen him in a few things.
Yep.
He's really good in a French film called Rust and Bone. If you haven't seen that, that's really worth going to check out. He's excellent in that. He's a great actor. He's Belgian, and he's in Far From the Madding Crowd, which because I'm a married man, I have to watch films like that. And actually, it's quite a good film. But he puts on an English accent in that film, and if you didn't know, you would think he's English.
Yeah.
You would. His accent is that good.
Yeah.
So he's got great acting skills, but in this, when he turns up, I'm like, right, he's going to betray Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a cliched character.
Very much so.
And kind of, it is hampered with some of those things, this story, which is a bit of a shame.
Well, I mean,
and even Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's great.
Yes, absolutely.
He doesn't get given a great role in this, but even then, you kind of think, that actually, although he starts out bad, it wasn't a big surprise that he flips around and he's kind of on their side by the end of it. But, frustrating.
He's always great, I think, in almost any. He brings a certain kind of gravitas to a role, right? So it's nice casting that they've got him in there, but I agree, it felt completely wasted. I was like, you could kind of give this role to almost anyone else. I think, and it feels like they did it just to kind of say, we have this person, we have Ejiofor, and it's like, but it's not. None of it won't make a difference, right? If you even had the greatest actors, if you're not really kind of giving them a whole lot to play with. I mean, Charlize Theron is also really great. I think she is she's doing a lot in this role. I mean, her character, you're in belief of her character, I think, which is good. I do agree that I think they could have done more in terms of like set pieces for when you're traveling back in time and you're seeing those, they're reliving moments of their past, but they never do enough of that. And it is a real shame because I kept thinking, this is a cool concept. It's a great concept. And again, it's like they found a good thing from from a comic novel, but then they use it in the wrong way. They kind of get the story doesn't have enough that kind of keeps you going. And I agree. For a lot of it, I was just thinking, this is kind of boring, and it shouldn't be boring. It's not.
No.
I don't think you should be coming off the back of this thinking,
No.
like, I could have had more from that, and that's a bit. It's upsetting, really, because like I said, I think the only thing that really brought it back for me a little bit is that the action set pieces that they had, I think, were good, but. If they're calling this an action film, it's not an action film. I don't think.
No, not really. Yeah,
There's
I mean,
enough of it.
IMDb lists it under the genre action, adventure, fantasy, in that order.
Okay.
Um,
We should just call it
yeah.
storytelling. Lots of storytelling.
Yeah.
Not as much action.
Sadly. I mean, even the poster, they're all holding weapons. So you're kind of given that, you think this is what you're getting. And you do get a bit of it, but not enough. Nowhere near enough. Can I say as well, one other thing that I didn't particularly like, in terms of, I've already said that some of the stuff's a bit kind of cliched or a bit obvious. The guy who's the bad guy, what's his name, Merrick? Played by a guy called Harry Melling. I'm sure he's a lovely chap. I'm sorry, but that was kind of, it was too hammy for me.
It was a weird choice.
He did for me as well. Like, he's easy to hate, and like he kind of plays it like that. But also for a person in his position, I don't know. I would have thought he would be slightly less annoying, and have a bit more charisma. I like my bad guys to have a bit of charisma, whereas he was just straight up, just like, this guy is so annoying.
Yeah.
And a bit obvious. I don't know. I wasn't a fan.
No.
Yeah.
Well, because
I don't think his acting skills were quite up to it. I don't want to say that, but
he didn't,
that's how I felt.
Did you not feel like he wasn't kind of out and out evil, but then he wasn't. There wasn't enough kind of like the moral ground. He kept talking about, committing the one bad thing, which I suppose is experimenting on them in order to cause much good that would come out of it. But then it doesn't. You don't really have enough behind his character. We don't dig into his character at all. We're just like, here's a guy that we have to have in here because we have to show some sort of a reason to put these guys in peril. But it's not.
No, he's just there for the money, isn't he? Basically.
Yeah, and it's not.
That is it. I mean, it's interesting because you have like Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, who you know why he's there. He's invested because his wife died, and he wants to change how things are.
And there's more depth to that character, right? Yeah. There's more depth to that character than the main bad guy. And I think if we had even just a slightly bit more of the bad guy, then you could kind of maybe see an angle. But he just seems almost, and you're right, he's a bit more like a petulant child, which I think also kind of annoyed me. I was like, what's the point? What's the point?
Why is anyone doing what he asks them to do? Like, that's how I felt. Like, surely he's the one guy in the room who, should be getting punched and slapped about.
Yeah.
Just because he's got money. I wasn't buying that character, which is again a shame. I do really feel disappointed on this one. The other weird thing. I need to look this up. I'm going to try and look this up. Did you read about Netflix most watched films?
No.
So Netflix released the top 10. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. See if this works, this thing. So they released the 10 most watched films. And how many views? Okay. So interestingly, number one on that list is one of our previous reviews, which was Extraction. That's number one.
Okay.
So this is most watched in Netflix history. So that's Extraction only came out this year, so that's mad, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, we've
that's
had lockdown.
crazy. Yeah.
99 million views. That's had. Okay. That's
Wow.
number one, which is bonkers, right?
That is bonkers.
So, this isn't all movies. So that this is Netflix
TV
originals.
show. Yeah, original.
Okay. So, on my list here, which is a bit annoying actually, because I thought The Old Guard had already hit in terms of films. It's actually in the top 10, but this list isn't showing that. Anyway, that obviously my worry, okay, with Netflix is how do you measure a success? Okay, so obviously box office figures would be how most films and cinema releases would be judged by.
Yeah.
Whereas Netflix, it's done by views. Okay. Now, just because someone sees it doesn't mean whether that they like it, right? And paying for a subscription is very different from paying for a cinema ticket.
Agreed. Yeah.
So knowing how popular something is by the number of people watching it, probably only really says how well they've marketed it rather than how good the film is.
Yeah, because they can push it right to the front of your view, right? As soon as you log in.
Which they do, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, if you want to know the rest, I can tell you some of the more interesting ones. I mean, like The Irishman's had 64 million, which I think is quite a lot, really.
Considering also its length as well as
yeah. So, I mean, there's some bad films on here as well.
Okay.
So, like, have you seen Murder Mystery?
No.
So, my wife and I couldn't finish that. It was that bad. But I don't mind Adam Sandler. I've watched some of his stuff. It just was so bad. It was painful.
Oh, man.
And that is number 5 with 83 million views.
Whoa.
So that's why they've got a big deal with Adam Sandler to make movies. So Bird Box is number 2, 89 million. That's okay. That's all right. Yeah. Spencer Confidential was 3rd, which again came out this year, 85 million views.
Whoa.
It's not awful, that film. It's watchable. It's not great. So, yeah, my concern with The Old Guard, I think it's had probably quite a lot of views already. They're going to make another one. How do you feel about that, Brandon?
The thing is...
Would you watch it?
The thing is, if there were improvements, and there could very well be good improvements that they could make, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, maybe I would watch another one. Like I say, I think the premise.
Yeah, the premise is good.
I think that's what's helping it. That's probably why we're marking it even just a little bit higher. If it didn't that, I don't even know if it would possibly be worth watching at all. But it's...
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be paying cinema.
And I would be... Fragrantly, I'd probably be quite annoyed if I'd paid money and gone to the cinema to watch it. But it's different because I paid for a Netflix subscription, like you say, and it's on there.
So, isn't it? You know, I'm not out of pocket if I watch that film.
No,
I'm just wasting my hours.
You're very precious.
2 hours down the drain.
It's not. I mean, it's not like going to be the most groundbreaking film you're going to watch, but I think it may be kind of worth just a shot to at least try it and see if it's something that works for you. See if those points that we've highlighted that maybe are interesting. I think it's trying to do something. It doesn't quite pull it off. The action sequences, when you get them, are good, but there's not enough of them.
Charlize is great. Yeah. And one thing I would say that I would say is a plus. I actually thought her name's Kiki Lane. playing Niall. I thought she showed really good promise.
Yeah.
Problem was, oddly enough, she didn't have enough to do.
No.
Actually, that would certainly reel me in for a sequel. Knowing that if she had a more interesting role, a more prominent role, because I think the dynamic between her and Charlize was interesting, actually. But yeah,
Do you think
we've said about some of the reservations we've got. I mean,
do you think what might have made this better? Because this is one thought that I had: is if we hadn't have taken this film happening in modern day, but it had happened a chunk of years ago, something happened, introducing this new character. Charlie's Theron character is then killed off. We get this new character come in. She then leads the team, and then we jump forward in time and see how she's
maybe
the team now. That would have been instantly better.
Yeah, that or actually setting the first one not modern day.
Yeah.
Or partly modern day. Be more playful with the kind of the time sort of these different timelines, maybe, actually events happening. Instead, all we have are these sort of really depressing flashbacks of people dying or people getting tortured.
Just interesting that you can get, so like how in the past we've both spoken of a love for Christopher Nolan, and we said how he deals with time so well in films, right? Time is his thing. It's like, and no one, arguably, in modern cinema is doing quite what he does with it. He's constantly jumping around with timelines.
Yeah.
You've literally got here a film that is about people that live for, hundreds, potentially even thousands of years, and they could jump all over the place in time, and we could see different battles, and we could see how war has been waged in so many different ways over the years, and they could do really interesting, awesome set pieces, and yet they settled on this.
I know.
It's just it's baffling.
It is a bit really. It's a shame. I mean, I don't really. Well, I've just realised the other thing that really bugged me, and that's the my hair, the random sort of pop music, like music, like they'd be in the middle of a scene, emotional, and then like this sort of pop music that was kind of like, I would expect it to be on like a pop star's album that would be filler. Like it's not like the big tracks. It would be the stuff on the albums that no one like the sort of song you'd skip on that.
Yeah.
Just like, what is this soundtrack?
It's bizarre. I was going to say, it's truly bizarre. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the tone of the film at all.
No, and it breaks it, doesn't it? You kind of, all of a sudden you're taken out of the film. You're like, what is this music?
Yeah.
That really got on my wick.
Bizarre. It was a bizarre choice, I think. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Right. It's bugging me. Oh, God. I need to find out before we finish. News. Yeah, so Charlize has already teased the sequel, apparently. There you
go. Was it pre-filmed? Is there a sequel?
Yeah, probably.
Pre-filmed before.
I mean, it's in the end of the film anyway, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
I'm sure Netflix tweeted something about how many views that film had and how well it was performing.
No doubt.
And it kind of, I think that's another thing that's bugged me, really. It's kind of like, well, just because people watch it doesn't mean it's good. I mean, Michael Bay made all those Transformer movies, made a hell of a lot of money doing it. Awful. Right?
Oh man, awful. Transformers makes me like those newer Transformers. I mean, I remember being slightly interested by the very first one.
First one was good.
First one's good.
It kind of fizzles out when the action hits right at the end, because it's just like, I can't tell what's happening because there's so much going on.
I know.
So many cuts. It's like, but the film was interesting. other ones are just awful, right?
They're so
But because
awful.
they make money, they churn them out, okay? And it does annoy me a bit. I've got to be honest. It does annoy me.
I worked for the cinema when one of the last ones came out
Yeah,
a while ago, so maybe like the second to last or whatever it was. And
yeah,
I got to see that film for free. And even then, I felt like if I had a direct line to Michael Bay, I'd call him up or I'd send him a message and say, I want my non existent money back for the time that you have wasted of my life.
yeah, 100%.
Because what is that?
And
But I mean,
that's how I feel on this one. Just yeah. I hope if they do make another one, it's better.
they've got every chance, Dan, to improve it. I think,
Like
I
we
said,
say, there's a lot in there that is good.
there's potential there.
Potentially.
Yes. Yeah.
Potentially. More action, more fun, more happiness,
A bit
less
more
sadness.
jovial. Just a touch.
Comic relief. Oh, but just a bit of that, please. Right. I don't want to talk about this one anymore.
No.
Going in the bin.
There's our glowing review.
Do you know what? If I'd have gone out and bought this on like Blu-ray or something, having not seen it, and thought, oh, let's try this one out, I've treated myself to a Blu-ray, I'd be absolutely livid. I would. This one I'd be fuming about. Why did I waste the money on it? I don't normally do that. I've done it once before. I went to the shop and I thought, right, I'm going to treat myself today. I'm going to buy a Blu-ray. Hadn't seen it. Ridley Scott, so I'm like quids in.
Risk. It's a risk. Fairly, never seen though yet.
It's a risk, not seeing it, but it's Ridley Scott, so it's promise. But it was Exodus. Oh my word, it was so bad, so bad. I've not done it again. I paid 15 quid for it. I sold it on eBay for £1.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Anyway, on that note, let's stop there. So it's been as much as the film wasn't a pleasure, Brendan. It's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Yes. Definitely.
So I'm glad you enjoyed this film marginally more than I did.
just a tad.
Do you know what influenced my 2-star rating?
Go on.
I thought I enjoyed Source Code more than this, and I gave that 5. So this has to be a 4. So there you go. I would sooner watch Source Code again.
That is...
and that's not, actually...
one heck of a comment.
I'd be almost tempted to up Source Code to 6 now. Or 6 out of 10, 3 stars. Easy. Right.
Wow.
Brendan, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
It's time to say goodbye. So thank you for watching, everybody. You got to go. Bye.
Bye. Bye.